Hey everyone, this is Alie Gonzalez from SparkFun. Welcome to our first live stream series. This is going to be a new thing that we're testing out and doing. It's going to be really fun. Joining me today is our wonderful Avra. Let me add her in here. Let's see. There we go. Oh, let me take off those lower thirds. Hey, Avra.
How's it going?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing super great. This is really exciting.
Yeah, I'm super excited for this. So for everyone watching, we're doing this live stream series just to give you all a recap of what SparkFun has been up to during the month, what new products we release, what new content and videos we release, plus some sneak peeks of future things that we're working on. And then just talk about like tech news and things that are happening within the industry, whether that's like chip shortages, which is everybody's talking about, or even just some fun things that we see going on throughout the month. And then at the end, we'll just be having a chat with everybody with whatever questions you guys have. Let me mute whatever notifications I'm getting there. Hold on one second. Go away. Lots of notifications. So I think the first thing that we're going to start off is intros. So Avra, if you want to go first.
Yeah, it sounds great. I've got an echo going on.
Oh no.
I'm not sure if we can fix that.
Probably. I can go get my AirPods. Give me 1 second.
Sounds good.
Normal first live stream hiccups. Let's see. Let's make sure they're connected. I think we're good. Okay, echo gone?
Does it sound better?
Yeah, I think so.
I think so.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Perfect. Cool. So,
Yeah,
Avra,
I'm
give us an intro.
Avra. You guys have... Yeah, sorry. I think there's a lag now. There's technical difficulties.
Yeah.
But, perfect. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Avra. You guys have seen me on a lot of the product videos. I am the technical content creator. So basically, my job is to get our new products and showcase what you can do with them, all the cool use cases and ideas you guys can do. So it's a pretty sweet job, and I'm super excited to be here and get into some more tech with you guys.
That's awesome. And then for me, I'm Alie Gonzalez. I'm the services manager at SparkFun. I manage all of our like custom kits and custom manufacturing, and then I do a little content, which is why I'm here. And I'm a maker, as you can tell from my maker space behind me, that I definitely didn't finish setting up right before this. So, so cool. So Avra, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about in this live stream was all the cool projects that we've had coming out in the past couple weeks. One of the really cool ones that came out, I think a few days ago, was this Arctic research guy, Jean Rabot. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so Rob got the chance to interview him, and Jean Rabot he works at the Norwegian Meteorological Institute, and basically they do research with sea ice. So sea ice is a really useful tool for understanding kind of the Earth's, like the health of the Earth in terms of global warming. So there's something called albedo, which is solar reflectance. So sea ice is white, so it reflects a lot of solar power back out into the atmosphere. Ocean is a really dark surface, so it actually absorbs all the energy. So with albedo there is a cycle where when the Earth warms, basically it melts more sea ice, which turns into dark ocean, which absorbs more solar radiance, which then melts more sea ice. So it's a really interesting problem. And Jean wants to study how sea ice moves throughout the Arctic. But there's lack of data in that field because it's really inaccessible up there. They have to use commercial instruments that are really expensive. So he actually used our AGT, our Artemis Global Tracker, to solve the solution. And it's a really great module for his problem because it uses the Iridium satellite network. So you're able to receive alerts and data from remote locations like the polar regions. It's got the Zoe M8Q on it, so you can determine your location. And it also has some environmental sensors. I think it has um, humidity, temperature, and pressure. So it can work down to negative 40 degrees Celsius. So it's a really
Oh,
robust module. It has the Artemis, MCU. So it really is good for the type of work that he's doing.
wow, I'm surprised it's able to work at such low temperatures.
I
That's
know.
wild.
It's pretty
Uh,
amazing. And yeah, those modules are crazy because they're basically, a suicide mission. Once they go out on the sea ice, they're never going to be seen again, right? So they have to be
totally.
robust and last as long as possible.
Totally, yeah. I mean, this is like a good preview of what I'll be talking about later, one of our news items, the big Miami Hack Week that happened and what the winning team did. Um, but more on this. So he's able to just like put an Artemis Global module with like a solar panel, I presume, and a battery, and just let it go out on an iceberg essentially, or sea ice, and track it as it
Yeah,
goes along.
exactly. And it's been so successful for them that I think they're working with 5 other countries: Norway, Australia, Japan, Canada, and the US to have, global representation of sea ice and how it's moving throughout the Arctic.
Wow.
Arctic.
So do you know how many devices he has out there? Like, is it just a
You
single
know,
iceberg he's been tracking?
I think they've tracked one. I'm not sure how many they've implemented, but I know it's been effective, and they're definitely working on putting out many more.
Yeah, and I imagine it gets a little pricey. It's you lose each module that you put out there. That's
Exactly, but it's
super.
still cheaper than their commercial options.
Yeah, yeah, I imagine like using satellite imagery from Planet Labs to track an iceberg as it moves along. They get very expensive very quickly, and you only get data from them
Yeah,
once a day. So,
I
uh,
know.
yeah, and if it changes dramatically, like not being able to identify what it looks like anymore, this is a great solution.
Yeah, yeah. Who would have known that an iceberg could be so costly?
Oh God, yeah. Uh, so another topic that I wanted to explore with you was, and it's along these lines. Like we've been getting really into like GNSS, surveying, mapping here at SparkFun. We've come out with a bunch of new boards lately. I have a few of them with me right now. I believe here is the GNSS time board and the the ZF9K GNSS Dead Reckoning board. You
Mhm.
want to tell us a bit about these? I know you've worked with them a bit.
Yeah, I actually haven't gotten a chance to work with those yet, but I've definitely worked with
Mhm.
a lot of the uBlocks products. So we've recently come out with 3 new modules: the F9K, the F9T, and the F9P. We've put the F9P now on a micromod carrier board. So we've already had a separate F9P, but we've made this a part of the micromod ecosystem. So the F9K, I'd say, is really going to hone in on dead reckoning, right? It's extremely
What's
useful
Dead
for,
Reckoning for those who don't know?
yeah, dead reckoning is basically like a technology that's able to track your location in densely covered areas. So, right, like when you get modules positioned from satellites, you can have multiple satellites configuring a module's position, but you might go through a tunnel or dense tree coverage areas where satellites actually can't locate your position. And what dead reckoning does is it uses an algorithm to determine your velocity and where you're going, and it predicts where you might be based off of the previous information. So with dead reckoning and the satellite information, you can get extremely precise positional data, even when you're in like cities and forested areas. It's like when you're in a city and you're like, I should be getting reception right now. Why is my GPS not working? But it's because there's all these buildings around you that are blocking the signal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. I hope our smartphones start getting dead reckoning on them.
Yeah, totally, right?
Make Ubers more
Um,
predictable.
I know, that'd be awesome. God, the perils of our society, 20th
Yeah.
century,
We could just
21st
strap one. That
century.
would be a fun project, just like strap one onto a phone and have it somehow, maybe like with an Android phone, and have it, the Uber app or Lyft app, like actually use the data from the board. That would be super cool.
Definitely. Yeah, so
um,
it's cool for like autonomous robotic applications too, because you could have like a robotic application within a warehouse that can access location, and so using dead reckoning with that could be cool. But it's a really cool module.
Sweet. And does that
Um,
also benefit from using a base station?
yes, yeah,
Yeah.
it does.
So, yeah, so the base station it's communicating with over RF or LoRa or something, or even cellular, and then it's
Hmm.
able to triangulate based off of like the satellites, and I mean maybe more than triangulate if it's connected to 20 satellites, but if it's connected to only a few, like to the satellites and then the base station, and then wherever you are, and that's how we've gotten like on the RTK facet, we're able to get like centimeter precision, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's super cool. Yeah, when I was at the office a few months ago, Nathan was showing this to me, and just like tilting it on this big stick that he had, it was able to show up on the map on his phone. And my mind was being blown. I mean, not just because I was with Nathan, but because of this cool tech. Um, that's so cool. So, talking about like improving things in our everyday lives, you released a guide like a week or two ago using Homebridge. And Homebridge, this is something I've wanted to set up for forever because I try to keep my home within the Apple HomeKit ecosystem, but I have
Hmm.
like older devices that I bought before HomeKit, and they're not connected to it. And I've really wanted to set up Homebridge for years to connect them. So like, what was the process in setting that up?
So I actually didn't even get a chance to set it up. It was something that I've also been curious about because over the holidays, my cousin, who is like 10 years old, he is super ingrained in the Apple ecosystem. And he was saying, I want to get a Raspberry Pi, I want to load Homebridge because what he wants to do is get RFID tags and put them in his room so that when he enters a room or goes in his room, the lights will change color to initiate study time. So
Sweet.
I had never heard of Homebridge, and I didn't really need to go about making content because there's a lot of resources on the internet for it. So basically, Homebridge, runs on a Raspberry Pi, and it's a bridge between HomeKit and these other third-party resources that could automate your home. So, HomeKit only really enables a certain number. They only put effort into a certain number of products that they like. You can go to Apple's page and see what they're gonna, you know, put resources into. But there's thousands of other home automation products out there that don't get that attention, and that's where Homebridge comes in. It has thousands of plugins so that you can just connect so many products to your home automation system.
Yeah, and like as a device manufacturer, like choosing to add Homebridge isn't as simple as just having some software on your device that allows it to communicate with Apple's Homebridge network. You have to have
Hmm.
like a special chip from Apple for authentication. You have to pay Apple a license fee per device. It's similar to like their M5 certification process for like cables and stuff. It's a huge pain, and it could be a huge expense to companies just starting out. And I mean, as a maker or as anybody trying to do things themselves, you're not able you're not gonna go through this whole process with Apple. So Homebridge is such a great resource. I really need to set it up. I have some LifeX lights above me that are really old and don't have HomeKit enabled on them, and I even want to see if I can set up my 3D printers on there so I can turn them on and
Yeah.
off, more specifically off, from my phone. I would not want them turning on by themselves if I'm not around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and I
Uh,
think for us coming from a company like SparkFun where we really value open source technology, like this is exactly the same kind of principle where there's no legacy software you have to work within, like you're saying, the Apple software. You can just go in and build your own plugins, use other people's plugins, and just really build out your home automation setup.
Yeah, and what I think is really interesting is that Apple tends to be a company that is, they try to keep things tight. They don't let anybody in. They obviously like don't let you download off-brand apps onto your phone. You can't sideload apps. But it's interesting that they've like allowed Homebridge to exist, and Homebridge has been around
I would
for a
agree.
while, and a lot of people use it. So it's not it's kind of that's I definitely has to be an active decision by them to allow it to keep going,
Hmm.
which is nice of them. It's a step in the right direction for them. So that's sweet to
Yeah,
see.
I would agree.
Yeah. Let me see. What else did we have over here? There was one really cool guide. I don't recall if it was you or Rob that released this one about sending sensor data over Wi-Fi, and it was like a Wi-Fi connection between two ESP32s, right?
Yes, this was Rob. He's done a
Okay.
fantastic job with this. Um, so basically, there's a lot of ways to communicate with boards, right? You can use Bluetooth, you can go over an actual Wi Fi connection with your home Wi Fi and a router. Um, but a really smart and effective way of connecting between two boards is with an ESP32 to an ESP32, just creating a point to point closed Wi Fi system. Um, and basically, two ESP32s can use the same local area network and connect with each other using internet. So what Rob did was created a really simple guide for anybody who's unfamiliar with this to get in and get started with sending data from one ESP32 to another. And the basic process is first and foremost getting the MAC addresses of each board, right? So each board has its own series of numbers that gives it a name so that when you program it, it knows which other board to talk to.
And
So
that's
he has code.
defined in the hardware too, so it's not like it's
Yeah,
something that can change.
exactly. So Rob goes through how to get the MAC addresses with code for you to use yourself. He also has a nice little tidbit about how he used to duct tape his boards, or he used to put tape on his boards, but he does it
I
differently
do
now.
that.
But yeah, it's a good way to keep track of them because it's something you can forget. Um,
I do it to
so,
electrically insulate the bottoms normally.
oh, really?
Yeah, I'll like cover it in electrical tape. I have a lot of relays around my house embedded in walls, just fully electrical taped, because the contacts are
Oh,
right there, and
nice.
it could easily short.
Yeah, very interesting. I like that. But yeah, basically, he goes through how to program both, both ESP32s. One is a receiver and one is a transmitter, and showing you how to pass data from one to the other. It's a complex process that I think he's made very easy for beginners to jump into. So it's a really robust tutorial. I think it's one of the best tutorials we've come out with.
Awesome. I have to send that to a friend of mine. He's right now a senior at the University of Florida, and his senior design project is using ESP32s to kind of do like a mesh audio network, and then having it have like a really intelligent MIDI and EQ on there, so it's able to like stabilize all the audio and kind of create like a Wi-Fi surround sound system. I have to send him this guide. I know he's been deep in the code already, but
Interesting.
this might simplify his life a bit. Um,
Yeah. What is he working with so far?
so far, I mean, he was just like using ESP32 dev boards, hopefully Things Plus boards, but I think he got them directly from Espressif. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, he's just having them connect over. I don't recall if it was Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It might be Bluetooth just because it's more low power. But
Hmm.
he's planning on connecting them to speaker systems, so he'll already have power right there. So Wi-Fi might work for him. Plus, it's higher bandwidth than Bluetooth and potentially higher reliability. Less likely to have packets lost in transmission.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very true. That's super
yeah.
cool.
Yeah, that kind of gets me thinking. It would be fun to like do that with the new Surface transducer that we just released, which I have here. I really want to play with this, and I know you've made a guide. Well, you made a project like in high school, right? With a bunch of
Yeah.
welding. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, so the thing that got me into hardware electronics was in high school. I had a mentor who was a welder and he had a welding shop. And so I wanted to basically build glass speakers and weld together the frame that would hold the glass. So that's what introduced me to hardware electronics, getting a surface transducer, which can turn basically anything into a speaker because it vibrates whatever material it's on. And then using an Arduino, I just put a surface transducer on a piece of glass and welded up a frame, and that was my first hardware electronics project, and it really got me
That's
hooked on it all.
that is so cool. I'm so jealous that you were welding when you were in high school. That sounds so
I was
much
pretty
fun.
lucky. Yeah,
Oh my
it was
gosh.
awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is like, did you ever find the resonant frequency of the glass, like even accidentally, and blow up the glass?
No, I never wanted to because I used my own money for the project, and that
Okay,
glass was
yeah.
expensive.
Fair,
So
yeah.
I kept it pretty low. I remember I played a Stevie Wonder song, and that was the best
Okay.
thing, I think, because it really lacked bass. So
Okay.
it was a horrible speaker. It was just a piece of glass, but it
Yeah.
was cool to hear like Stevie Wonder through the glass. I don't know.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. As you were saying that, I was thinking, those bone transmitting like headphones and glasses so that you
Yeah.
could hear sound. I mean, this thing is pretty heavy, and you would kind of look like Frankenstein with it on the side of your
Yeah.
head. But it would it would be really cool to make like a something that attaches to your head to like make your head into a speaker. People could probably hear it, but
I'm
maybe that could be
sure.
fun. Hopefully, that wouldn't cause any damage to you.
Yeah, that,
I
that
have no
surface
idea.
transducer is quite large. I feel like that would,
Yeah,
shake your whole skull. But how do
yeah.
those how do those headphones work? Do they have surface transducers in them, or is it a different
Yeah,
type of
yeah, it's
technology?
essentially like a really small surface transducer that goes like right onto, I think it's like the back of your head here, like behind your ear, and it
Hmm.
presses on the bone there, and it like vibrates there. So it's kind of like closer to your ear when you
Yeah.
hear it. So it's cool. I tried one last week. Well, okay. I tried one that I thought was one of those bone transducing headphones, well, glasses. But after some investigation, I realized it was really just two speakers pointing down towards my ears, and I could cover the speakers and I wouldn't hear it anymore. But it was
Oh man.
marketed as this. Yeah, it was total vaporware. I was so disappointed. Yeah. So,
Oh my gosh.
um, yeah,
Well, what do
maybe.
you want to do with the surface transducer with this one?
Oh, I don't know. This is That's a good question. I mean, I just think the novelty of it is super fun, like just putting it on any surface and then having a speaker. And like surprising people with it too, like going to a maker fair or even like going to an event and it's like boring or going to the beach and putting it on the cooler and now the cooler is a
Yeah.
speaker. There's just like a million
Yeah.
different scenarios that you could do this and blow people's minds. Because you wouldn't think it's, I mean, you don't see anything like just holding this, it would vibrate through your hand in itself, so you'd hear a little bit, but it changes so much when you put it on a surface. um, yeah, I don't know. My mind is going everywhere with it.
Totally. It'd be cool to make a glove, right? And it's like embedded in the glove, and you just like put your hands on different
Oh my
surfaces, and
god.
then you just walk around and make music, you know?
And you could like pretend to be some messiah or something and have it on the palms of your hands and put it like here and then do some like I don't know, some very meditative music, have it playing through it and freak people out.
Totally.
Could be a good like Halloween prank to do to people.
Yeah, we should pass it along to Rob. He's the king of Halloween.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Ooh. Okay, I will have to talk to Rob later. Okay, so moving on to another topic. Another board that we had come out earlier this month was a new time of flight board. I'm trying to see what's the name. It's, oh gosh, it's a very long product name, but it's a time of flight board. Do you want to give us some context as to what it is, what's new about it?
You might know a little more about this one than I do, but we've made one of these before, and this is our smaller version. Yeah,
Super small, yeah.
small form factor.
I think I have a, well, I don't know where I put the quarter around here. But yeah, it's a time of flight board. So as it basically just transmits light, and then as it reflects back, it knows how long it took. So it's great for like proximity sensing and stuff like that. And this one is super small, and it even has two quick connectors, which is so funny. The quick connectors take up so much of the board.
It
I love
does.
it. But it's so useful and it's easier than soldering. I mean, I personally like soldering everything, but in a pinch, like the quick connectors make your life so much simpler.
Yeah.
So with that, let me check out the chat to see if we have any questions. I see on YouTube, VinXMod says, hopefully in the future, I can connect our sensors with a point-to-point Wi-Fi system. Sweet. That would be fun. So I guess, I mean, there's just so many different things that you could do with that. I won't go into my list of ideas right now. So with that, we've kind of gone through a lot of the things that were released this month. Let's talk about some cool news. I've really been wanting to talk about this. So last week in Miami, I'm, by the way, in Miami. Avra, you're in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and SparkFun is based in Colorado. I work remotely. So in Miami last week was this huge Miami Hack Week thing. So unlike normal hackathons, that it's like 2 days to hack and you're all in one big like space. This one was distributed and over an entire week. So there were like 30 plus houses rented out all throughout Miami, like different Airbnbs and stuff. And there were teams, like 20 people, sometimes 30 people in each house, hacking on different topics all throughout the week and going to events and everything. So I helped organize the Hard Tech House because I love hardware, and a lot of most of the houses were Web3 or DeFi related, and we needed to represent some real like hardware and AI
Yeah.
and some like physical tech,
Nice.
not just playing with NFTs and stuff. So,
Well, Alie, you told me
yeah,
that most of the participants were like engineers too, right? Like they weren't just students, and they were like engineers in their own respective fields, right?
Totally, yeah. Most of the people there were engineers and or founders of companies. So
Very
they went
cool.
out just to like recruit more engineers, but it was a lot of engineers, and I think total there were like 1,000 people that participated over the week, which is just crazy. It's insane. For our house, we had like over 60 people apply. We accepted maybe 30 of them, and like 20 of them actually showed up to the
Okay.
house, which as expected. But we had some amazing projects at our house. One of them was basically like some smart glasses that could tell whether you're focused or not. And it did that by using some EEG sensors, some like probes for EEG, EMG, ECG. I'm just like listing out acronyms, and then a galvanic skin response sensor, and I think also a heart rate sensor. So all of those combined, they were running like a small AI model on an ESP32 Things Plus board. By the way, SparkFun sponsored the house, so lots of teams were using SparkFun devices. Um, and then it was all running on these glasses. So when you were focused, it was fine. When you lost focus, it used a little SparkFun haptic motor to vibrate the glasses so that you would like gain focus again. And then it would send all
Wow.
the data to like a local server so that you could see how your focus like waned throughout the day. Super cool project. I think they got top six. I think they were sixth place out of all the teams in the hackathon. Um, Another cool project was
That's crazy.
yeah, it's
I
super
was just gonna
cool.
I was just gonna ask a question, which is how what kind of machine learning models did they implement with the ESP32? Like how did they program that up?
You know, I am not sure. So
Yeah.
it was very light models, obviously, because the ESP32 isn't super powerful. Um, so I mean, they were obviously training it on a different device. I think they were training it on a Pi and then like uploading some very light models to it. And it's basically just trying to like do averages of like, okay, if this is your brain waves like when you're focused versus this not. It wasn't super complicated. The more complicated part was that they had all these different data sources, so it's easier to validate with a simpler model. I think that's
Gotcha.
what they were going for, and then in the future they wanted to like have a more powerful processor, but for the constraints of a week-long hackathon they used an ESP32. Another cool project that made it, I think they were number 4, I think, in the competition, was a automated like mushroom picker. So the idea was in order to like sustainably grow mushrooms for like food production, you could have in like, and not necessarily like a huge farm. It could be like an indoor space, like a little warehouse with a bunch of pods with these mushrooms growing on the mycelium, and then they used the camera and they were running some CV on a Jetson Nano in order to identify the mushrooms from the mycelium. And they were even able to identify, like, okay, these are brown mushrooms versus white mushrooms. And then once they got to a big enough size that they were ready to pick, it had a robot arm that would go and pick it. And oh, do I
Wow.
have a picture of it that I can show? It's super cool. I don't
That's a
think I have a
dangerous game you're
picture.
playing with mushrooms.
Is it?
I mean, I think about taking that out into the wild, how cool
Oh
that
my
would
god.
be to take into the wild when you're mushroom hunting, but you never know. Some of those mushrooms look very similar.
Yeah, no, totally. And I mean, the idea with this is that you're purposefully growing specific mushrooms and you've like gotten the spores for like portobello mushrooms or elephant ear
Yeah.
mushrooms. So you're able to train it on that. And then they also even had like a whole like sensing environment part of it. So like humidity sensors and temperature, and even like soil moisture sensors,
Wow.
so that they can tell like how the mycelium is growing and how the mushrooms are growing through their different life cycles. And they had misters and heat, like Peltier coolers and like conductive heaters or resistive heaters, so that they can modulate the temperature and the humidity within the capsule. And also using some machine learning models, like
Wow.
determine what's the best way to actually grow the mushrooms and get the highest yield. Super complicated project, but that's why they got
Yeah.
they got such a high place in the competition. Um,
Well, yeah, I wonder if, like, different mushroom species, require different humidity and temperature
exactly.
requirements to grow best. So then you can, mitigate that with that kind of data that you're gathering.
Exactly. And they also have a model. They created a so they create it was kind of two teams that were working on this. One team was making the big like production version where it would pick the mushrooms, and the other team was working on a smaller version that was just a little incubator that you could have in your house and just grow mushrooms right there in your house. And
Wow.
using data like open source data from all incubators, like they're open sourcing the whole project, and they'll be posting a Hackster guide on it within the next week or two. They will, the more people that actually make this contraption and collect the data, then they'll be able to optimize for the mushroom growths of different mushrooms. So you're right on there.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like the I'm telling you, the engineers in this hard tech house were off the wall. They were working 24/7, barely going to any of the events, especially the last few days. And I was there with
Yeah.
them. It was a push. So the last project that I want to talk about from the Hack Week, is something dear to my heart, because this one I worked on a lot with the team, and by some miracle, they actually won first place at the hackathon, which is so sweet.
That's
It's
awesome.
awesome to have a hardware thing win the hackathon that was mostly filled with crypto people. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
yeah. So their project, which has a crypto side to it, but it's kind of a little bit mocking crypto. It was a weather balloon with an iridium uplink, antenna on it, and an ESP32 camera board, and plus some batteries, connected to a weather balloon that went up to like 100,000 feet or something. It was like basically space, like above where planes fly. It's not the Kármán line, but balloons aren't able to get to the Kármán
It's
line.
right below that. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were able to get super high up. And then as they were going up, they were sending pictures and basically minting the first NFT from space. And and they were actually able to do it.
That's
It's the
crazy.
While it was going up, it kind of froze, so it kept going, and then when it fell, it sent the last picture as it unfroze. And it was a pretty blurry picture. It's nothing impressive, but the fact that they were able to like make a weather balloon within a week and get this up and running with the satellite connection, it was mind blowing. And the whole thing was like there's all these crypto projects within the Miami and lately in the world, especially this hackathon. And this is like a real hardware project doing real things. But when they presented it, there was nothing to present, like most of the crypto projects, because it was up
Yeah.
in space. So it
Yeah,
was
that's
a
ironic.
cool, like, yeah, it was great. The irony was lost on many people there, but not on,
Yeah.
but a few of them got it. And it was so awesome that it won. Oh, and on the box, by the way, it had a SparkFun logo. So as it flew up to the sky, there was the SparkFun logo. I guess that's wouldn't be the highest SparkFun logo ever, just because I think we have some boards on the ISS and we have a board on Mars. So
We
haven't
do have a board
haven't
on
outdone
Mars, so
ourselves.
very
Yeah.
far away.
Let me see. Let
That sounds
me.
awesome, though.
Yeah, go for it.
But yeah, no, I was just gonna say that's why hackathons are just so awesome because it's just this condensed period of time with really smart people that you just come up with really ingenious ideas. And I guess one question I have for you, working in the hardware house, is how did you guys pick which hardware you wanted to use? Because sometimes it can feel so ambiguous. There's so many tools that could do the same job. So why did you guys go ahead and pick the hardware that you used?
Yeah, so it kind of varied. So ESP32s were what most people use just because they're simple, there's a lot of documentation around it, it has a lot of I/O, so regardless of what you want to do, it'll most likely fit the bill.
Yeah.
In terms of the balloon team, they needed something that was very low power. So with the ESP32 on board, they were able to like turn off the radios. They weren't using a Thing Plus ESP32. They were using like an ESP32 S3, I think. And with turning off all the radios, it was only sucking like 20 milliamps an hour, which is nothing. Like the batteries we had on board would last like 4 hours minimum, but maximum it could have lasted over 12 hours. And we only expected the flight time to be like an hour or two. So
Wow.
that was a big advantage to using the ESP32. For the other projects, it kind of varied. I mean, because SparkFun was sponsoring it, I had handpicked some things from SparkFun so that we had ready for the teams. Lots of different like environmental sensors, some different motors and motor drivers. We had a lot of red boards like Arduino Uno red boards, and a bunch of ESP32 Thing Plus boards. So that it was kind of biased by like what I had picked, but that was based off
Yeah.
of my knowledge with prototyping and doing hackathons, and just you want something that is easy, has lots of documentation, and SparkFun boards have all of that. So that was really how they picked it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess the more difficult part was the Iridium module that they used. That did not have the best documentation. But they were able to get it to work. Yeah, at first they were thinking it would cost like $3,000 to $4,000 for just the data to be sending up pictures.
Oh my God.
I know, yeah. I mean, that team spent like a few $1,000s out of their own money to do all of this, like buying tanks of helium and the weather balloons and the Iridium module and all this stuff. Like, they well deserved to win. But luckily, after actual testing, they realized like it only needed like a couple $100s worth of data in order to send what they needed to send. So that was lucky.
That's incredible, though. It's a really cool project. All those projects were pretty amazing. So
Yeah.
it seems
Let
like a
me.
really cool experience.
Oh, totally. Let me see. I just uploaded the video of us launching it because I was there. So we had to like not charter a boat. So a friend of mine has a boat. So we went on it, went out 30 minutes out into the water in Miami, away from any people and away from any like flight areas, because they had to like check with the FAA. They called a lawyer, make sure that this is legal, made sure that they weren't surpassing the weight limit and they didn't have to register it, made sure they were like out of any flight zones at all. They did so much
Oh my
work in
gosh.
addition to just making it. So we
That's
went out.
insane.
Yeah, we went 30 minutes out. And let me see, where's this video? I just downloaded it. Give me 1 second here, Avra.
No
Here, what I
worries.
might do. Is this on its side? Why are you on its side? What I'll do is I'll share my screen. Oh no. Rotate left. Here we go. And I'll share the video that way because I don't think I can upload it. I don't know why it's not cooperating. No, go away. I might not delay this now. Let me just try one more thing here to see if it'll do it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, for some reason it's not loading properly. Oh, here we go. Okay, now it is. So let me go to this. Where's my screen share? Share. Okay. Can you see? I should have had it. So I hope everybody can see this. Let me verify that. Oh, this is it.
I see your desktop.
Yeah. You see this video playing? So that's the balloon. It was 8 feet wide ground level and then inflated to 30 feet wide up at 100,000 feet. And here they go. Woo. Just crazy. And it flew away so fast. It took it maybe like
Wow.
5 minutes to go 4 miles, which is
That was
like
insane.
viewing distance. Let me get back our feeds here. Yeah, it is insane. It was what a day that was. So that was the crazy things that right? It take an hour to inflate the balloon, but really it only it was a windy day, and once it was inflated, 3 guys like pulling off it. Sure, it didn't. We have issues.
Yeah, I might be frozen on my end.
Okay, I think it's better now.
Here we go.
Okay, sorry, everyone.
Okay, sorry about that.
Sorry about that, everyone. So that's the Miami Hack Week. We were part of the Hard Tech House with Hard Tech Miami, this like local hardware organization that's trying to make Miami more than just crypto, like bring real hardware engineers here. And a few people from the team said that they were moving to Miami just because of this, which is crazy. That's as a native, that makes me so happy. Yeah, seriously. It's so cool.
Very cool. It sounds like a really tiring but awesome week.
Oh my god, yeah. I was up for 40 hours one day. It was rough. So with that, want to talk about a couple more things. So Teensy. There was a blog post, a tweet by Paul, the guy who made Teensy. I don't know if you want to talk a bit about that, Avra?
Yeah, it sounds like the Teensy 4.0 or 4.x boards are doing okay with chip production, but Teensy 3.x boards, they're having a shortage. So depends on kind of where you're at with Teensy. If you're trying to maybe upgrade a project that uses a Teensy 3.x board, or if you're trying to build an entirely new one. But yeah, we wrote a really great blog on kind of where to go from there, just because there are shortages. So it's something to prepare for. And something we kind of recommended was just jumping into the Micromod ecosystem, using a Teensy Micromod board, because it gives you all the flexibility and customization of Micromod. So it's a really, really cool processor that enters you into an amazing ecosystem. But yeah, I don't know if you have anything else to add to the kind of shortages that they're experiencing.
Yeah, the last news item we want to talk about here is the NVIDIA ARM acquisition. So about 2 years ago, NVIDIA announced that they are trying to purchase ARM. Both huge companies. ARM right now is owned by SoftBank, just a big like hedge fund essentially. They're a conglomerate that own lots of different companies, from WeWork to Sprint Telecom here in the U.S., to ARM, to a bunch of others. They even invest in smaller startups here in Miami. So they were trying to buy ARM. I think it was for around $40 billion, which is an astronomical number. Might be more though, don't quote me. But there have been a lot of controversy around the like monopolistic issues with NVIDIA buying ARM. I mean, the people who make there's only three big companies that make CPUs in the world. It's Intel, AMD, and ARM. And then ARM is the biggest one that makes microcontrollers, other than like Extensilla. So it's a big step for NVIDIA, one of the two only graphics card, like GPU makers, to go and try to buy ARM. That would reduce a lot of competition in the industry. So there's been some controversy around it. NVIDIA being a US company, ARM being a UK company, although owned by a Japanese company. World companies get so complicated. So it seems like it might be getting abandoned. I think there was like a 2.5 year limit on the deal of like they had to make it work within 2-3 years, and if not, it wasn't going to happen. So there's been some little rumors around, or some preemptive news that it might not happen. So we'll see. There could be benefits to it as well. Imagine ARM chips in graphics cards, or like all ARM processors getting access to NVIDIA graphics and having that more tightly integrated. Like there are some good advantages to it as well. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's complicated and it's messy. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, totally. So with that, let me check over to the chat to see if we have any questions. VinXMod is saying thank you for all the Arduino code examples and hookup directions for all SparkFun products. Aw. Thank you too, Avra. You've been here longer than I have. I've used them many times. They're great.
It's the engineering team. They put a lot of work into those.
Yeah. And then, what else is here? So he says, many of us know just enough to use a breadboard and write a simple sketch, but when we have examples, we can get the items to work and then adjust items to work in our own project. So totally, I mean, using our sketches, using Hackster guides, even just using code, open source code from other people is so helpful when you're just learning or just trying to make something quickly. Even if you're an expert, there's no need for you to have to write everything from scratch. Imagine if you had to write everything from assembly every time you wanted to do any type of program. That would be a nightmare. So it seems like those are the only questions or comments that we've had. Vin is saying congratulations on the Hack Week, so thank you, Vin. With that, Avra, I don't know if you wanted to cover anything else.
No, this has been really awesome, and it's just fun having a conversation about all this. I'm sorry to everyone for all of our technical issues, but I hope we'll get it smoothed out a bit more next time. But It's just been a real pleasure, so thank you, Alie.
Yeah, no, thank you, Avra. And for everybody watching, we're going to be doing this on the first Tuesday of every month, going over the recap of some new products, some cool new videos that we're doing, sneak peeks when we have them, and then interesting news. So stay tuned for the next ones, and thank you all for watching. With that, happy hacking. Bye,
Happy
everyone.
hacking, everybody. Thanks so much.